there.
Oh, let me put my ears in. Guess I need to hear you. That
God,
seems
your
kind of
video
important.
quality is so good. But we could talk about marketing during like uncertain times and
That's
how
really
do you
good.
show up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good because I have some counterintuitive but very important advice that my good friend Kate O'Hara actually she didn't open my eyes to it, but she really made me see how when you put it into action, how important it is for the short game and the long game. So
yeah, I like that. Short
with
game versus long game. Engagement. I mean, engagement is definitely one that keeps coming up.
Okay.
Right. Because everyone's like, oh, like I'm not getting any engagement. And I can speak to that too. Like I used to get 1,000+ views of my stories. And now it's like, I'm lucky if I get 400 and it might like, zip up, like things like that.
And then we'll just have a conversation around it. I mean, you're amazing. So I think.
Oh, well, thank you. I think you give me too much credit, but
no, you're great.
I just put myself in the place of my audience. Right.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will tell you, and I've gotten a lot of collaboration, people reaching out to collaborate and do this and have them on the show and do their course and stuff. And I don't really do them, but I did it with you because I think that you are terrific and I really love your show and I love what you do and you're really good.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the feeling is mutual. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Oh, stop. I'm blushing. No, you're blushing.
All righty, cool. Okay. So it's your show. You tell me and I'll roll with it. And I imagine this is edited. So if I mess up, can we? Okay.
All right, cool. I now have a proper editor. Before I used to tell everyone it's not edited. Now I actually have someone. Her name is Abby. She's wonderful.
Oh, I have a wonderful Abby too in California.
Oh, not the same. All right. Okay. So I'm currently in my daughter's bedroom because my son got a gaming PC for his 9th birthday, which means the old computer that I used to use is now in my daughter's room. She doesn't even have a desk, which is why this is my first podcast recording in this setup. I'm holding my microphone in my hand. I know it's not ideal. Hopefully by the next time we do this.
I love your green screen
setup.
Your background.
Yeah, that's a space that I designed. No big deal.
Is it really? It's beautiful. Of course. I love the built-ins, the cabinetry is beautiful.
Thank you. I do not have a room that big in my house. Okay. The houses I design are much more grand than the one I live in.
We're remodeling our kitchen, our middle floor. I guess we have a basement and we just gutted the kitchen and we're doing floating, not laminate. Yeah. Laminate floors because the original hardwood floors is that ugly red oak and it's all garbage. And so they're like about this thin. So, they just left not too long ago. So it was a whole bunch of noise. So I'm glad that worked out.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is noisy. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put my microphone down so I can clap. Oh, we're super professional over here. All right. Hold on.
You need me to clap too, or we're good? Okay.
Oh, why don't you clap? That's a better idea.
All right.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the microphone facing the right way this time, right?
Yeah, I learned from you. This thing's all sideways and backwards, but we're good. I think, can you hear me okay?
You sound great.
Okay, good.
All right, ready?
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Darla, oh my goodness, you're back on the podcast. Welcome.
I'm back on the podcast. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm delighted. Of course, you're one of my favorite people, so thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so honored to have you back here. The last time we had you on the podcast, I should be prepared with that podcast number. I will find it.
I never am. It's okay.
We talked about, I do have it right here, guys. There's no number in my iTunes, but it was an incredible episode 150. There you go. Episode 150. We talked about all kinds of things, marketing, Instagram, your journey. And so I'm excited today to kind of continue and continue taking off from that conversation that we had to dive even deeper. I feel like we only just scratched the surface with all the conversation. We had a lot of laughs. So guys, if you didn't catch that first episode with Darla, definitely go back and listen to it after you've listened to today's. And I'm just excited to dive in. Like, how the heck have you been? You like busy over there in the Wingnut social world.
Oh my God, so busy. And you and I in the green room were talking about September being kind of an HIT show. I don't know if I can cuss on your show. I forgot. Sorry. And I can spell it.
That's okay. You can do it. I do
and
it
you know
too.
what I was thinking? It was for us too. It must have just been something with Mercury and retrograde. But other than that, I've been great. I'm getting married tomorrow for my fiance of 2 years. I've taken my sweet time.
That's not that long. That's amazing.
So things are looking up.
I mean, and that's so awesome. I'm so excited. I feel so honored that I get to like chat with you your last day of being single.
I called it. We went yesterday to go get the ball and chain license. I call it. So
well, I can't wait to hear all about it. So before you take off on, are you taking a honeymoon? Are you gonna do something
eventually.
or lay low?
Eventually. It's been a honeymoon for 2 years, so you know.
Oh, listen to you. That's so sweet. I remember that phase 12 years ago. Oh, enjoy that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're not really taking time off. Actually, I've got so many questions for you. I'm like, ooh, that's got me thinking. What do you do when you leave your business? How do you have it manage it? But let's maybe shelf that. I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's another show.
It is another show. Maybe next year. I'm really excited to dive more into this idea of like Instagram and marketing. And I feel as though right now in the economy, it's kind of, we're in this weird time where people are trying to compare it to recessions of the past or trying to compare it to like post like Spanish flu. They're trying to compare it, but there's really nothing to compare it to. And so the sense that I've been getting over the last few months has been designers feeling a sense of uncertainty and sort of not knowing kind of how to market their business in an uncertain time, not to mention everything else that's going on around the world. And so, you know, how do you advise your clients who work with Wingnut Social and you work with them on their marketing and on their Instagram? Like, how do you advise them to sort of show up, I guess, if you will, in a time of uncertainty?
Sorry, I'm getting over the flu. Okay, so it's so important. And I understand that because we're getting some of the same feedback from some of our clients and some interior designers who are coming to me at Wingnut saying, you know, things are slowing down because we were spoiled. We were really spoiled rotten in a lot of ways by COVID because I don't think we've ever had as big as a boom in the industry as we had during COVID because everybody was staying home, everybody was redoing their house because they weren't traveling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So now, especially as it relates to that time, it really feels like things are pulling back when in reality, they're kind of like low normal or normal, you know, in comparison, because you know, of course, you heard Mitchell Gold, right? Mitchell Gold and some other furnishing companies. I just had Warren Schulberg on the show to discuss that, went out of business. There's a lot of reasons why that could have happened. And honestly, with everything I've read about that, I think it was due to being owned by private equity and some mismanagement more so than the economy, but maybe a little bit of both. But I'm getting away with myself. So my good friend, Kate O'Hara of Martha O'Hara Interiors, right, was on the show a couple of years ago. And she really made a terrific example that just confirmed when you put this into practice, how effective it is by a real life designer who actually does this, right? So if you're not familiar with Kate O'Hara, go check out Martha O'Hara Interiors. But when you have any kind of economic pullback, right, and there's a lot of angles from this as far as high-end clients, low-end clients, where you are at in your design business, but you instinctively feel, okay, we need to reduce the marketing budget. We need to pull back the marketing budget because you're looking at your bottom line. You're looking at your outgo, you know, your cash flow, what you're expending. And that really, really is the wrong thing to do. If you're in a position to not do that, I highly recommend not pulling back. And I know this seems self-serving, but this is actually true. I know because I have a marketing agency, but whether you go with us or you do it yourself, this is when other interior designers, architects, or home furnishings vendors are pulling back their marketing budget in this time, there is a lot of room for you to get reach, growth, and awareness and awareness for your brand, and leap heads and bounds, if that's how you say, ahead of your competition, right, in the digital marketing space. And then say if it's a year, say if it's 2 years, say if there is a recession, soft recession, or even just a pullback, when everything starts coming back, because it does, everything is cyclical, you are that far ahead of the firms and the businesses that pulled back their marketing to the point to where their relevancy or their brand reach and awareness just kind of dies down. And there's a minimum, right, that you want to do at that. In any economy, you want to be spending at least 5% of your overall gross, incoming cash, all that stuff that you're making on marketing. And some firms, like I know Luann Nagara, 10 to 15% on their marketing for window work. So, your mileage may vary depending on what you can do. But the good news is that if you're a smaller firm or a newer firm, and maybe you don't have, $100,000 a year or 50,000, whatever that might look like to you for your firm, is Instagram, which is the #1 top performing platform for social media marketing, so organic social for your interior design business, as low hanging fruit, if you want to put some elbow grease in it, is free.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If you have the manpower and you have the elbow grease and you have the know-how and you do it correctly, no brainer. There is no reason why you need to pull back on free social media platforms, especially Instagram in our industry.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, hold up, 5%. That is the first I've ever heard that. And I'm married to a marketer who clearly doesn't share his knowledge. But like literally immediately after this podcast, and I hope everybody listening is going to go do the same, I want to go back and look at how much I've spent this year on my marketing, whether it's through photography, paid Facebook ads, like all that jazz, and see if I've even hit 5%.
That's the low end.
Okay. Yeah. So that's so interesting, because I feel as though, and I know other designers feel the same way, is that tends to be the one area that I like, I don't want to spend on, because there's no guaranteed return on the dollar in the way of, okay, hold on, let me rephrase that. Like if I spend money on photography, right, that's a marketing expense. And I'm speaking to something that's very specific and clear, because I know a lot of designers see that as like, okay, should I invest in professional photography? The answer is yes. But anyhow,
100%, yep.
Once you've done that, you're like, well, like, how do I know if it's going to get me a client? And so there's this kind of fear of the unknown that people don't want to spend on marketing. And especially in a tight economic situation, that's what I'm seeing all around, is everyone's starting to pull back in their marketing budgets. I mean, my husband works in marketing, and his clients are scaling back on their ad spend, scaling back on all the things. But that 5%, so minimum 5% is what I'm hearing, 5 to maybe 15 as an ad spend. So that's a really great rule of thumb. And now I forgot my second thing.
Well, it's like a slinky. It really is like a slinky dog, right? So if you're pulling back on your marketing now to save XYZ dollars this month, what is that going to look like for you in 6 months, right? Because every client, especially for the interior design industry, we're not cheap. It's an expensive trigger to pull for clients. And it takes at least 6 to 7 touch points for people to see you and to build that know, like, and trust, for people to say, oh yeah, Susan McNuggets Interiors, I remember her, that 7th or 8th touch point. And I'll guarantee you, what will not get you clients is not advertising, right? And that pool of referrals that you have, that exhausts itself after a while. You have to keep growing your reach and awareness. And even if you're not, like I said, if you're not paying for ads, doing it in an organic way on social media just makes perfect sense. And the people that are pulling their ads and doing things, I think they would be better served at least staying the course and maybe targeting higher end or more focused, or their demographic for a different, and having a different strategy moving forward than pulling that. Because that is really, unless they're going out of business or they absolutely can't afford it and they have to really, you know what I mean? I don't want to have anyone spend money they don't have, but that's really going to slinky back on them 6 months, a year from now, when their competition.
I love this slinky,
right? It's
visual.
true.
I'm picturing this thing go, whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Look at brands like Kelly Wearstler or these higher end interior design firms. I'm just throwing out Kelly Wearstler for an example, that kind of level. I guarantee you they're not pulling back their marketing, and they never probably have, which is why they're where they're at, plus the fact that it's Kelly Wearstler, just plug in your big name interior design, whatever there, you know what I mean? They always see the value of it. And clients that come to us are usually the larger design build firms that have gone there, gone through the hard knocks, know the value of marketing and the growth of their firm and keeping revenue in it. It is just the cost of doing business. You can't avoid it. And of course, I'm talking about digital marketing, right? So photography, things like that, ads in magazines, which aren't that effective, by the way, guys.
And they're very expensive. Very,
and very
very expensive.
Unless you're going to put it in every month for a couple of years. Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much better served doing social ads or Google ads for that. But yeah, you just, it's the cost of doing business. It really is. You have to, at the minimum, keep alive, keep relevant, keep a presence, because at the end of the day, in every economy, and as interior designers, what we do is a luxury. That clientele is out there and they're still going to be using our services. You want to make sure that they're using your services and not the other person's in your market, right? Because you're not going to stay alive that way.
Yeah. And I love that you said Instagram is the low-hanging fruit. Like, I couldn't agree more. It's not that you have to go out and hire a marketing agency like Wingnut Social. There's so much that you can do on your own, as long as you start to learn. And we're going to talk about that. I want to ask you some questions about Instagram specifically, but I mean, just a little anecdote. That's how I grew my firm. Like, literally, I lived and breathed Instagram.
Same.
I showed up. I was posting content. Like, everything was Instagram. And I truthfully, I don't think in the early years, I think I didn't do it with intentionality that I was trying to market my business. I just, as a creative, really loved it. And it was a newer platform. But being on Instagram and being present and showing up daily, posting, showing my personality, which I know we talked a little bit about in our last episode, grew my following. It grew my reach, and it grew more than anything. And this is something that I talk about with designers in my community, is it grew my stature in the industry and in my city. And so what it did was, clients weren't necessarily organically looking for a designer on Instagram, but they would see me, or I'd pop up, or somebody would recommend them to come find me because they already followed me. And they said, oh, wow, look at Rebecca. Look at the following. I get to know who she is. Wow, look, like, she just seems like a really established design firm, when really the joke was I was still in such early years of my business.
Yeah, same thing. When I started Darla Powell Interiors, I got 7,000 to 10,000 followers within the first 6 to 9 months. It's been a minute, so I don't remember exactly. And that was, live as if. I went in there and I muscled the hell out of Instagram and got that reach and awareness. And I was in there commenting and engaging and posting. And I didn't have an agency do that. I had the time. I had the muscle to do that myself and learn how to do that myself. And that humongous difference. It really is. You just have to dedicate yourself to it, be consistent, not do it for 2 weeks and say, oh, that didn't work for me.
Yeah. Consistency. Oh, yuck. So, well, I mean, I know obviously you feel strongly about Instagram because you help your clients with that, but you've also developed a course. Like, you have an online course
we do
that anyone can take, right?
Yes.
Without being one of your clients, so that people can implement what they learn on their own.
Yeah, exactly. So we have at Wingnut Social a intellectual property kind of way that we do things here to market for our interior designers internally. And that always begins with the marketing research and the strategy. And it includes some really weighty things, some heavy things like your positioning on social media, your value proposition, your content pillars, your content mix, your competition research, and all of that stuff. And when I say competitor research, I mean, of course, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I love the community of interior designers and working together. But when it comes to digital marketing, it's zeros and ones, it's black and white, right? You want to show up, when in that noise among your competitors, and I'm doing air quotes here. And so the Instagram course, we made it so if you're at the point to where you can't afford to have us do that for you, which is really involved, and it's not an inexpensive investment, we break that first piece down in the course where you can walk yourself through that, curate an absolute marketing program for you for Instagram, for your design firm, specific to your needs, your wants, your ideal client, your audience, your area, your competition, all of that with the modules and the workbooks. And we have a Facebook support group as well. So I wanted to make something for my audience that wasn't quite at the level. They're not at the, $1 million and above interior design firm who can afford Wingnut Social, to have that there so they can just do it. They can get that traction, get somewhere. And then when they get so busy, then they can say, okay, here you go. You guys do it.
Yeah. Exactly. But like you even like walk people through things like how to create your bio, right? Picking which photo should I use for the profile picture. Like these are things that oftentimes I think designers, we kind of like get stumped on, right? And we feel like, oh, we're asking all our friends, or we put something, we're like, oh, that's not working. We see what someone else is doing. And I would imagine that inside this course, which I'm going to take, by the way, you will tell people exactly how to do it so we can eliminate this second guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. When clients come to us at Wingnut Social, we 100 times out of 100 are optimizing their bio, reworking everything so they can be found on Instagram, because Instagram anymore is I want to say it's search engine optimized kind of within the platform, to where if you want to search for an interior designer in New York, interior designer in Miami, there's a way for you to write your bio and to optimize all of that for you to be found for people looking for services in your area. There's a way to write your bio so your value proposition, i.e., if that's correct, what is in it for your viewers, your listeners, your readers, your watchers, your followers, what's in it for them, because it's really about it for them. And there's a lot of soul searching. There's a lot of, okay, what is our mission? What is our messaging? What is it that clients are going to get from our account? Because you want to make sure that it appeals, so you can grow that engagement and grow that rapid fan base, whether they become interior design clients or not, right? Eventually they might, right? They probably will, but that growing the numbers and growing the reach and awareness, it is a numbers game. To getting the right eyes on your account who are going to be, you're in Chicago, this is my designer, not the other one, because they're not on Instagram, so important.
I love that you said that, because it is so region specific. Like, unless you're at a point in your career where you are working globally and you're flying all over the world, but most designers listening aren't there yet.
Yeah.
And they really are looking for clients in their region. So I think that's a really interesting comment that you made. You also mentioned engagement, which I just kind of want to hop on here and talk about that, because that is something that I personally have seen drop. Like engagement compared to what it used to be for me with my stories, with my likes or comments. Like, it's just, I don't feel as though it's as engaged anymore. And I wonder, does that affect people using Instagram for marketing? Because I know people are thinking lately, because I hear from designers saying like, oh, Instagram doesn't work anymore.
It does. The thing with it, yeah, oh yeah, 100%. The thing with Instagram is that they always keep you on your toes. The algorithm's always changing, right? So that's why my team is always on top of it. We're A/B testing. We're seeing what's working. Reels were super hot last year. Now it's we're back to feed posts with beautiful imagery, and carousels and stories are bumping up again in the algorithm. So if it's the slinky, you got to keep up. You got to keep up with it. For sure. But engagement, part of the strategy that we teach in Instagram for designers, Instagram for designers, man, of course I can't talk, is writing your captions in such a way to engender that engagement, right? To write it to where you're starting that storytelling and those conversations with your followers. And that is in that module, optimize your Instagram, to, creating calls to action. So important, because I see so many designers will post, the beautiful room, and it'll be like, our latest project. Okay. But they're not starting any conversations. They're not saying, this is the issue, this is how we solved it, or this is this beautiful custom whatever, or what do you think, or or just something engaging in there as well. Right. And there's so much that goes to that in the hashtag strategy, which is also in the course, and getting different eyes on your account, new people who would engage with your course is super, super important. But there's another thing at play there as well. And I mean, it could be your content, how you're writing it, how you're putting it out there, and what that conversation looks like. It's different for all of us, right? But Instagram wants you to spend a little bit of money, right? To get some of those likes and engagement. You don't have to, if you do it right with the strategy. You can grow your Instagram really, really nicely organically. But Instagram does throttle us a little bit with engagement, because they have that little thing in there. This post is doing great. Would you like to boost it? I'm sure you've seen it. right? So
Yeah. And I've
that's,
said yes many times. I'm like, oh,
yeah. And it
yes,
works.
Instagram, help me.
And it
I'm like,
works.
thank you
Yeah.
for making it easy for me.
Yeah. I'll spend $30, sure, to get more eyes
Yeah,
on
it's
it.
so
And
cheap. Yeah.
and it's not even really more eyes from people who haven't followed you yet. It's more of your followers' eyes on it. They'll throttle it. Only at any given time, only 20% of your followers are seeing your post, depending on how good it is. And Instagram gives certain weight to different metrics, right? So when you post your whatever it is, how quickly you get engagement, likes or follows or shares or saves tells Instagram, hey, this content's pretty decent. You know what? Let's show it to some more of their followers. And you know what? Let's put it on the explore page so some people who aren't following them can see it, because at the end of the day, they want Instagram to be a terrific experience for people who are on it, right? They're less likely to put forward content that's kind of meh. So you want to make sure that you're doing, it's a total circus. You're spinning so many plates and wearing so many hats when you're doing Instagram. But if you have a solid strategy that you can just look at and say, okay, this is the strategy I worked on. This is what I'm posting today. This is the caption I'm writing. These are the hashtags I'm using. Makes it so much easier.
Yeah. So then I love this content that's meh. How do you avoid making meh content? Because I feel like we have all been guilty of that, where we're like that is the juggle. It's the consistency of which we need to post, and then making it super engaging. And I know that designers get paralyzed by the desire and the need for it to be perfect, beautiful, engaging, all the things. And like, I have designer friends in Toronto who say to me like, oh, I spend so much time just creating one reel. Like and then I end up putting my phone away because I realize I've spent an hour and a half in my day. So how do you find that balance between consistency and not just putting out meh content just so that there's something on your feed?
Right. So if you're pressed for time and we're interior designers, right? Or, the audience, and I guess I still kind of am. That's not our area of expertise, generally speaking, right? So we should be delegating that to someone in-house or someone who can do that. Instagram has a really cool feature when you can go through your feed and you can view insights. I'm sure you've seen those on all of your posts, view insights. And it takes a little bit of work, but you can go in there and check them and see how they're performing. And that is like your survey. It's like putting out a survey and getting reviews from people on how well your stuff is performing. And the stuff that isn't performing well, don't use that stuff. The stuff that is performing well, do more of that. Do some A/B testing. Maybe the stuff that isn't performing well, maybe you just posted it at the wrong time. Try posting it at a different time. Try judging your captions or trying different hashtags. There's so many different things that you can do. But as creatives and interior designers, 99.99999% of us know worthy content when we see it, right? So we have that eye, we have that creative eye. And if you're putting up a photo that's like, you would scroll past and not really pay attention to it, just kind of listen to your gut right there.
Oh, I love that. It's such a good point. We often forget, hey? Like, would I engage with this? Would I like it? Would I comment? Like, no, it's just a picture of a window treatment. Like, ugh, boring.
Yeah. But you can zhuzh it up with your caption with some personality and engagement and make it fun, depending on what your messaging and your voice is for your business, for sure. You can even take meh content and with a proper strategy and make it something more than it is, especially if you're stressed, you don't have enough content. But it's better to post 2 super nice quality things a week than it is to post 5 kind of meh ones, every day. Just be consistent. Just definitely be consistent about it.
That's interesting. Okay, that's good advice. I recently did something, Darla. I'm curious your take on this, where I was feeling like our team, we'd fallen behind on content. And I was like micromanaging, as sometimes we tend to do. And I sort of checked in. I'm like, what the? Like, nothing's been posted yet today. So I went ahead and I found an old reel from, I don't know, maybe 90 days ago. And I just reposted it. Now, I didn't know that there was a way to do this without a watermark. So it had a watermark.
Okay.
And it did phenomenally well. And I'm like, how is this content, which has been posted before? No, it was good content. It had music. It was a video. I thought it was great content. It was actually even previously sponsored content that I just reposted and I didn't tag the sponsor because I fulfilled my, maybe I shouldn't share that here. But I was totally blown away by that concept. Is that something that you make suggestions to designers to do, is to take old content and give it new life?
Yeah, usually 90 days is a little bit soon. We have like a 6-month rule if you're really short on content, and we couch it, we put it up in different ways, different angles, maybe for a room or filter, different caption, different hashtags, different audiences. It could just be something as simple as when you posted it, it was a different day and a different time. A couple people saw it super quickly and liked it more than when you posted it the first time. Remember before when I said Instagram sees that, they see that really quickly and they put more weight on that and they put it to more people. It could just be just something that simple. So that's a really good example of play with days, play with times. When is your audience on Instagram? And trying that. And you probably have more followers now than you did 90 days ago too. So there, there's some of that as you grow. Yeah. More people are aware of you, with the podcast. It could be a myriad of things, but you can always do that. Like 6 months, a year, you can put something in front of your new followers who weren't following you 6 months or a year ago. It's new to them. You can even archive the old one. So if they're really going deep into your feed, right? And if you don't delete it, just archive it so your metrics are still there, and then no one will know.
Oh, I've done that. I've deleted content. I should just archive it.
Just archive it. Yeah.
Okay,
so you still have your metrics.
Rebecca makes. Got it. Okay. Metrics. Okay. Can we talk about metrics?
Yeah, sure.
I hate metrics, but I know how important they are. It's like numbers. It's like finances in your business. Like, who wants to really sit down and look at that? I keep putting those meetings off. But like, do you, in your course, do you talk about metrics? Do you show designers which metrics matter? Like how to do all of that? Because metrics, I think, can be kind of overwhelming for a creative entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's really 3 to 4 metrics that I personally pay attention to that are the most important. And you're going to be surprised, one of them is not on this list. The first metrics are reach and awareness. How many people are seeing what you're putting out there? And they might not be followers, and they might not be liking, and they might not be even following you. But remember before where I said there's 6 or 7 touch points people need to see you in front of them, right? That you're just kind of softening that, getting that brand awareness out there. That is one, the reach and impressions, right? That tells you how many people have seen the content, how many individual people have seen the content, that kind of thing, to keep it short for this episode. The next one is likes, of course. How many people have liked it? How many people, what does the commenting look like? What is, if people's commenting, and more importantly, when they do, are you commenting back? What does that look like? Because you want your audience to feel heard, right? And your engagement rate is going to be incredibly low if you're not answering them, if you're not engaging in some meaningful way with the conversation and making them know that they're important, that they're heard, that they're people. And there was a fourth one. Oh, website visits, right? You can see how many people from your calls to action that you've created, from your content, have said, you know what, Susan McNuggets, I find you incredibly intriguing. Let me go to your website. And then, of course, you have every opportunity to go through that client journey, customer journey, funnels, and everything to hire you in the end. What was missing from that list? Followers.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like the big one, the thing that everybody measures, right? And compares themselves against their neighbor.
Right. So eventually you're going to build that following. Just a well-run Instagram account, just naturally people are going to follow you and become fans. But it isn't the most important metric, especially in the beginning when you're doing brand awareness, brand campaigns. You have to soften up the audience before they're like, oh yeah, you know what? Sure. What the hell? Let me follow this interior designer. I've seen their content a few times now. I like it. Let me go follow. It's not instantaneous. It's a bit of a long game. And follower counts are really vanity metrics. And a lot of people, and you know who I'm talking about out there, are buying their followers. And we can tell.
Still?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
still a thing?
It's
that
still
was like
a thing
3 years ago.
And we can tell. And how we can tell is for our industry, interior design, home pros, that kind of industry, the average engagement rate is on average 1.7%. And that includes how many people that are following you are actually liking, engaging, saving, sharing your content in some kind of way. That's really pretty low. At Wingnut, we usually get like 4 to 5%. But
is that the percentage? Sorry, just 1 second. Is that percent of your total followers?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? So so if you have 10,000 followers, 1% would be 1,000.
Yeah,
Is that the right math?
yeah.
Or is that,
Overall,
yeah.
like 1.7%
Okay.
is the industry average, and overall, not like on every
Yeah.
post, but just in
Okay.
general. You can check your monthly engagement accounts, and that is really the most important metric. Is what is your engagement rate, especially if you are looking to do brand collaborations, influencer marketing, you want to be on HGTV, you want to partner, because the first thing that you could have 58,000 followers. And if your engagement rate is like 0.025 and they've come to us, so we know they're buying followers, it's impossible. It's almost impossible to have that. And if versus someone that has 2,000 followers, and your engagement rate is 10%, that 2,000 followers has a leg up, because they can tell these are genuine, sincere, grassroots followers. They're invested in this interior designer. They're going to buy anything. They're going to follow anything she does, etc. So that engagement rate is it is the most important metric. Followers come, build it and they will come, if you do everything else right, but it is not the most important metric.
Okay, that's so good to know. I mean, I feel like sometimes it's overwhelming. I open it up. I'm like, look at the insights, and I get my team to summarize. We have a monthly marketing meeting, and they're summarizing, and I'm just like, it feels like my eyes kind of like glaze over. Right?
Mine do too.
Like, what does this even mean? I don't know what this means. Now I have a benchmark. That's good. That's good.
Mine do too. We call them weekly masterminds, where we go and as a team, we discuss client account performance sometimes. And they really get deep into it. And sometimes I'm like, I wonder when that new Star Wars figure I ordered is coming. Yeah. I'm a squirrel. Yeah, I see. I have ADD so bad.
Yeah, I think more of us do than realize. I was thinking that the other day. I'm like, Rebecca, it's quite possible that you have ADHD. Like, you focus on that. I'm like, oh yeah, but then there's that thing, and I'm like, what? Like all over the place.
That might be a thing for creatives.
Maybe it's just being a creative.
Yeah, sense. It could be because we're creative, so we're like, oh, next big thing, or what else are you?
Totally. Yeah. Ooh, idea. Ooh, light bulb. Oh, I gotta do that thing now before I forget.
Yep.
So all of this is amazing. By the way, your course sounds freaking phenomenal. And I'm going to share in the show notes the links to get that course, because I think, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do your course and see how it's going to help my game. Because I've got a newish team actually on board helping me with the marketing. And so we're at a great place right now where I feel like, okay, it's time for us to sort of figure out our strategy. What is our content strategy? How do we want to show up for our audience? What value do we provide? And I've been kind of like flip-flopping, as my business, like yours, has progressed and changed over the years. Back when I was growing my following, I had a very clear business model. I was an interior design firm in Toronto. And then I started doing this podcast thing, and then I had these courses and this thing, and it's like one account, and I'm confusing people, if you confuse, you lose. Yep. So we're in this kind of like, okay, what does showing up for our audience, providing value really look like? So I'm excited to dive into this course, because it is like a fraction of the price of hiring a marketing director, hiring an agency like you guys. I mean, I don't know what your agency rates are, but I'm pretty sure they're more than $1,000 course or what have you.
Definitely.
So I think the return on my investment is going to be very good. But I also am just sort of curious about, like, sort of circling back to how we started talking about where we're at in more difficult times. Do you recommend that people change how they show up, or maybe even change their messaging when it's a more uncertain time, to try and speak to clients who might be going through more troubled times? Or is that irrelevant?
I don't think it's irrelevant. I think it really depends on what kind of firm you are, right? So if you're an interior design firm and your target demographic is more middle class, right? Their expendable income is, they're a little tighter, right? That might be something to think about. And that's something to go through and see, okay, what, again, with your messaging and your value proposition and relating to clients, like if you're a budget interior designer or something, like if you're a high end interior designer, I wouldn't think so, right? I don't think I would as much. In fact, I've had clients come to me and say, oh, maybe they're high-end interior design. Like I said, multi-million-dollar interior design firms. They're like, should we maybe also start offering these lower end services? I'm like, no, 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 don't do it. You don't want to be all things to all people, because you are in the right space at the right time. I would say if it's something, if you're, and this is going to seem kind of crazy too, is to start marketing up, right, to those people who can afford your services. Not to sound callous or crass, but I mean, we're in business. We want to be successful in business. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. And even this is people are gonna faint. Think about raising your prices to appeal to them, and up leveling your game in that way. Because if you're an interior designer right now and you're not niched and you're all things to all people, I think you're going to struggle a lot harder than interior designers who have firmly laser focused their audience, their ideal target audience, and their who they are, professionals, dollar amount, house amount that they're. I think that that's super important. You really need to start thinking about laser focusing those people who are not going to pull back that budget, who are still going to do a kitchen, still do a bathroom, still travel, still live their lifestyle, still get those vacation homes, because they're there and they're not going anywhere. So I would maybe think about shifting your mindset to that, because there's such a thing as racing to the bottom. And that's a losing race. Even the winner loses. And that, I think you just want to be really careful. And there are designers out there, like I said, who are Betsy Helmuth, right? Budget design, and they do volume, and then that works for them. And if that's your business model, then that's great. You might want to think about maybe offering some lower end level services if it fits with your messaging and your mission and all that. But I wouldn't. I've actually been thinking about that myself, with Wingnut, and saying, is it time to raise our prices? Is it time to go in there? Which we haven't done yet, but following my own advice. I love
hearing you say that. Because that's actually a thought that I've had. I've had that thought myself the last few months with my design business. And we actually just started updating our, we have like this PDF that we give to clients when they inquire about our services, that walks them through our process, but our pricing structure.
Sure.
And like an investment guide, I don't call it that. It's like it's our about us document. And I literally said to my team, I'm like, we need to raise our range of how we calculate, so that when people are coming in, they're seeing that. And I'm in the process of doing some tweaks to my design website to just level it up even more, because it is the people that, like, I have a couple clients right now, thank goodness for them, they're amazing, but they're still forging ahead with a massive new build, where a lot of the people that I know in my friend circle are like, whoa, pull back the discretionary spending, don't travel. And I get where that comes from, but you're right. As a business, we want to be successful, and we want to continue to support our team and grow our own, finances. Let's be honest. That's the whole point of being in business, is to make money so we can pay for our life.
Yeah.
And
so
that's interesting to hear you say that, like positioning higher, because that is where more of the disposable income will stay.
Always.
I also really like hearing you say that about the don't offer the cheaper service, because I've actually seen that. There's a designer that I know who started offering lower ticket service in the last couple of years. And everybody thought, oh my gosh, how are they doing that? How are they making any money? Wow, maybe I should do that. Because you see someone do something and they do it really well, right? The marketing behind it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And now they're not really promoting it. And it seems, from what I've heard, that, it's really hard to be profitable with a low end product or service, because you need such high volume, like you mentioned. And my guess is most designers listening today are not bringing in the volume of small projects that will make them profitable. Not to mention, when you bring in high volume, whether it's e-design, whether it's designer for a day or what have you, you need to be able to support that with your own time or with a team.
Yep.
And so it actually, in some ways, gets more expensive. And that's what I saw, sort of end of 2019, my business was booming. Things were busy. I had way too many freaking projects, and I kept having to hire people.
Yep.
And my profitability now, I don't do that many design projects. I'm doing coaching, right? I'm doing podcasting. Like, that's what I want to spend more time doing. We still have like probably equal, if not more, profit on fewer projects and fewer team members.
Smart.
But you have to raise your rates and get in front of that client.
Yeah, smart. I learned that the hard way too. A couple of years ago, when I first started Wingnut Social, our prices were embarrassingly low. We were really losing a lot of money. The only exception that I would make for having a low offer kind of thing, and most of us are doing this, is in the paid consultation, right? It's kind of a foot in the door kind of thing that leads to the bigger thing, right? If you have something that you're confident that will lead to the bigger thing as a foot in the door, that is an exception, of course. I wouldn't say don't do consultations, right? Because that
No, and
is,
I preach about that all day long. I'm like, do paid consultations.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's your opportunity to then sell them into the full paying service.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
and if they don't sign, you're still made money on the consultation for your hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever you have it. So it's not that big a deal. But I wouldn't be going out and saying, oh, we're just going to do paint consultations now when you've been a design build firm forever, or what have you. I'm being a little dramatic, but yeah, it's a losing proposition. You're not going to get full builds or full renos probably from paint consultations. I mean, generally speaking, yeah.
It's funny. I keep been hearing mixed messages like on podcasts lately and on social, this idea of like, you need to have multiple revenue streams. So that's one message I hear a lot of. And then I hear the other message, not as common, but I still hear the other message, which is, no, you don't want multiple revenue streams because that's just going to spread you too thin and distract you. And you're not known for one thing. How do you feel? Like, where do you land on that?
Yeah. Well, the designers that are with us that are the most successful do not, right? So they're the designers that are with us that are the most freaking successful. I mean, $1 million interior design firms are super niched. And it's crazy. You don't think that it would be that way, but that's how that works. Again, when you're coming to the foot in the door kind of thing, and if it's something that's going to lead to a bigger project and you spread yourself out that way a little bit, it might not be a bad idea. It depends on your particular firm. But I am a firm believer in just being laser focused and doing the one thing that you do, but you are doing it the best. Because I think it is true that if you spread yourself too thin, then you're doing too many things and you're not doing any of them 100%. But again, that depends on the firm. It depends on how many people you have. It depends on your bandwidth, and I think when you start doing too many things, then you're looking at, again, being all things to all people. And then your competition just opened up incredibly, right? If you're super niche, your competition is not as much, you know what I mean? Like,
for sure. Someone's going to build a house. Sorry, you give your example.
We had a client grow playrooms who grew with us tremendously, and they were a niche. They only do children's playrooms. And you're thinking, how many, what? That's crazy. There's not enough people in the world that just want a designed playroom, but they're multi-million-dollar firm now, and they have all over the world for children's playrooms. And they started out actually doing kitchens and doing stuff, and they were like, you know what? No, we're dialing in on this, and that is when they blew up. So I think that that's something to consider. And it also, it depends also on your finance. If you're on your last legs and you need to go do a paint color consultation to pay the bills, I'm not here to tell you don't do that, right? But I'm talking more big picture, long game strategy to become that successful interior design firm.
I love that. I didn't know they were one of your clients. I follow Grow Playrooms on Instagram and they're freaking amazing.
Aren't they? Yeah.
And their Instagram is so like colorful and fun. And I've used them as an example for people. Like, this is one core offering. Like, I preach Inside and Power of Process, which is my online course. I talk about focus in on what is your offering? Like, what is your core offering? Get your process set up, service your clients on that one thing. It's a lot easier to market one thing than it is to market a bunch of things.
Yeah.
I love that they were your client. That's an amazing example.
We did so well with Grow. They came to us with like 3,000 followers, which I know isn't the main metric, but they left us with like 40,000 followers, and they took all of their marketing in-house because they just grew that. They outgrew us, right? They had someone in-house. They got their whole media team and everything on that. And I'm very pleased to say that we helped do that for them. Right. Awesome. So yeah, they were terrific clients. They followed our strategy and everything that we recommended to them for a T. They just let go. They didn't micromanage, and they just did everything that we recommended. And there they are.
Amazing. See, trust your professionals.
Let go and let wingnut is what we like to say.
I love that. I love that. I did hear something recently, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't remember who says what, but it stuck with me. And they said, everyone's talking about multiple revenue streams, and look at all these billionaires with multiple revenue streams, right? They own multiple companies. And then they said, but what no one talks about is that billionaire, in order to become a millionaire, had one business and had one focus and one revenue stream. It wasn't until they had the millions to invest and to try and that they did it. And that really stuck with me. And I wish I could remember who said it. But
well, even if you think about those billionaires with those single
person.
companies, is each of those single companies does one thing really well. Like if you look at Elon Musk, they do batteries really well. That is their thing, batteries, whether it's solar batteries, whether it's batteries for their cars, it's all based around the energy part, the piece of, you know, rechargeable batteries for their cars. And his adjacent businesses all align. SpaceX, you know, so even if it's not like he has like Teslas and then he has a pizza place. I mean, maybe he does.
But even the SpaceX and all those extra things that came along later, like those solar roof tiles and all that, that wasn't the first thing. Like the first thing was one thing that he became known for and made the money from. And then it's like, okay, now we can start to branch out.
And they're all within his vision, his mission statement, and his messaging, right? So they all align. And he has the funds to branch out a little bit. Let's be clear, he's not in that growth phase anymore where he has to really niche. So he can do whatever he wants. But he got there.
Yeah, it's exactly true. We can get there too. I feel like most of us are still in the messy middle, but we're getting there. You're going to help us sort out the Instagram. I'm so excited about your course.
Awesome. Can't wait for you to take it.
I know. I'm excited too. I can't wait for my Instagram to explode.
I was going to say that you get full support. We have a Facebook group as well. So if you have any questions about the course, it's just for people in the Wingnut Academy. You can just go in there and say, you know, this module's it was a little, let me ask you a question about this with my Instagram, or even as you're going and posting on Instagram, if you have any questions, you can always reach out directly to me. Actually, anyone can, but the Facebook group is just for that, for this course. In the course, you get lifetime access to it as long as we're in business and awesome. Alive. Yeah.
Well, we hope that's a long time.
Let's hope.
So it's not just for a year. So you can be in that Facebook group asking all your marketing questions,
in perpetuity,
all the questions, circling back, doing the course again. And I know that's something that that people really value. To be honest, I love that you have that. I didn't even realize you had that aspect to the course, because there's some courses out there that are evergreen, meaning they're there. You can take them anytime. You do the course, but there's really no support. There's no Facebook group. There's no live. There's no component. And I love that lifetime. I mean, we do that too with our course. It's not quite the same, but you do get access to the course for the lifetime that the course exists. So people can come back. They can revisit a module, right? I'm sure you have that too. People are like,
absolutely.
Let me do my bio. Let me go back and see what Darla said to do.
Yeah. Or they have their notes. They have their notebooks that come with the course when they're because there's elbow grease, right? You have to, okay, now do this. Who is your ideal client? Who is your competitor? What, you know, there's a whole bunch of like, you can delegate it to someone in-house too. If you don't have the bandwidth, you can say, here you go, Sally, you're the social media manager, take this course and implement it for sure. And as long as the course is around and you have access to it, as long as we're around, you have access to the Facebook group. So for lifetime, we update it every quarter to make sure that everything's still relevant, because things change on Instagram. So that's, awesome. You don't have to worry about it going stale. So there's always updates. So yeah,
that's something that I think is important with an Instagram course, because it's changing all the time.
I had someone say, you're going to put yourself out of business with this course. I'm like, no, I don't think so, but I hope not anyway. But yeah,
no. So it's time for you to raise your rates, lady, because the people probably like me who are like, oh, this course sounds amazing, and I am going to do it because I'm excited to take it. But awesome. There are some people who are just like, I'm not going to have the time to take the course. Yeah. And like, I don't maybe have someone on my team that I can delegate it to. Yeah. And so they're probably thinking like, can I just hire you to like do it for me? And you can.
We've had a couple of people who purchased the course who, when they saw how robust it is and how much there is to it, because it's not just like a one-page one and done, right? It's really a very in-depth course. They were like, you know, this is a lot more than I expected it to be. Can we just switch over and become clients? And I'm like, yeah, sure you can.
Totally. That would be me. That'll probably be me. Like, I'm not going to do all this homework. Are you kidding me? I love that.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot. It's a really, really amazing course. In fact, we just received a review from a client who purchased the course, who said that she just launched in September. It was Ashley Marks of Marks Living Company. And she said she's already signed huge clients from using what we teach in the course. And she's actually going to be on the podcast. So I saw that come in to my DMs, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because usually you're just shouting into the wind, like, are we liking this? Yeah, we are. So the reviews are starting to come in, and yeah, for sure.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm excited to spread the word about the course, take it myself, and then I can really tell everyone what it's really like. So stay tuned. We'll do this again, and I can then share all my big aha moments. But I'm just so excited that you got to come back on the podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your marketing wisdom. I love talking business, and I just can't wait to see how this course starts to help others see the power of Instagram.
Yeah.
And not give, I don't know what the word is for it, but I feel like oftentimes we tend to throw our hands up in the air. We're like, nope, this isn't going to work for me. Everyone's saying Instagram is dead. The algorithm is fucked. Pardon my French. Like, there's no point, right? So I'm just not going to bother. But I think what you're saying today is actually, it is working. Do take the time, do invest in it, because it is going to be a way to push your marketing forward without having to invest the big bucks, especially if you don't have the big bucks right now. And then as you get the big bucks, then you can take it to the next level.
100%. Yeah. And Instagram is not dead. The Instagram meta is not dead. It's just, it's a public stock. There's shareholders. They want you to buy ads. They want you to boost things. So there's a piece of that we also do cover that in the course if you are so inclined. But if you do it correctly, organic Instagram is incredibly, well, like you said, you built your business. I built my business on it. We have clients that are getting DMs all the time from new leads, and even now, but it takes a minute. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes a minute. We have clients that have been with us 3-4 years. Julianne Hendrickson is one. She went from $500,000 firm when she started with us. Now she's 4 or 5 million a year plus.
Wow.
So yeah. And because she knows it's a long game. She knows you have to stick to it, be consistent, tenacious, and it's the cost of doing business.
Totally. And at least 5% of that cost.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Darla, for being on the podcast today. Let everybody know where they can find and follow you for more.
Sure. If you're interested in the course, head on over to wingnutsocial.com. Pretty easy to remember, I hope. And just go head on over to Wingnut Academy. Check out Instagram for interior designers. And we're at Wingnut Social everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, lady.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And I can't wait to have you back on my show.
It's going to happen soon.
Oh, yeah. By the way, my show, designed by Wingnut Social, the podcast. And the YouTube channel.
One last final plug. And the YouTube channel. And the LinkedIn. Oh, and don't forget plug. Pinterest. And
the smoke signals.
Awesome. Have a great wedding day tomorrow.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right, guys. I freaking love that woman. Honestly, that is one of the best parts of podcasting is I get to connect with other like-minded professionals around the globe and become friends with them, which is so freaking cool because we don't live anywhere near each other. And so in a pre-internet world, this would never be possible. And so I just feel so grateful that I've connected with Darla, and I'm honored to have been on her podcast and to have her come back for a second time to talk about marketing. There's so many questions that I still have. So don't worry, Darla, if you're willing, we would love to have you back on Resilient by Design. But for those of you who are really interested in taking her interior design course, scratch that. Instagram for interior designers, her course, please go check it out on her website. I'm going to put the link in the show notes as well as in the Instagram. So come follow along on Darla's journey. I'm going to share with you when I've taken her course, what I've implemented and how it's helping me. I'm really excited to dive into it because I feel like now is the time for me to up my Instagram game. And hopefully you guys see the benefit in doing it yourselves. Let Darla know you heard her on this podcast. Just hop on over to Wingnut Social, give her a DM, and let me know if you like this episode. Leave us a review. It would mean so much to me and to my amazing guests if you could leave this podcast a 5-star. Obviously, that would be the best. If there were 6, you could do that too. 5-star review. Let other people know that this podcast is chock full of information for design professionals, and leave us a Google review. Oh, is it a Google? No, that's a total lie. I don't think you can Google review a podcast. No. That's just something I've been talking about with designers for their design firm. You can leave us an iTunes review for the podcast. All right. Thanks. That's it. We'll see you soon.